Hello everyone, my name is Apurva and welcome back to another episode of 100 Days 100 Problems, where I solve your Power Apps challenges and turn them into working solutions. This is day 17 and let's take a look at our today's problem. I'm trying to build a simple attendance tracking app in Power Apps. The scenario is we have a campus with 10 cottages. Each cottage has 5 youth assigned. Staff needs a very simple way to take attendance daily at a recreation center. The user experience: staff opens the app, staff selects a cottage from a drop down and hits enter. Second screen opens and displays only the youth assigned to that cottage. Staff marks attendance, present equals to yes or no, checkbox or toggle. Staff clicks submit and attendance is recorded. Now they have created three SharePoint lists, one for cottages, second for youths which is linked to cottages, and third attendance which records submissions. And finally in the Power App they have a drop down for cottage, a gallery which is filtered with youth list, checkbox for attendance and a submit button to patch it to SharePoint. The code for submit button has been failing. So let's try and see how we can solve this with the same structure. Before that, this is the final look of my app, so stay tuned till the end so I can show you it in detail. And don't forget to subscribe and like this video. First, to build this Power App, we are going to go to SharePoint to create our list structure. We need three lists. One to store the information of cottages. Here I am going to utilize the default title column to store the name of our cottages. Then we'll create another list to store the information of the youth which are assigned to those cottages. Now each cottage can only have 5 youth assigned as per the requirement. Here again I'm going to utilize the title column to store the information of the youth name, and I'm going to create a lookup column to link the cottages they are assigned to. And then finally, we need a third list for attendance which records the submissions. So let's create that. Now here I'm going to add two lookup columns, one for the cottages and one for the youth. Then we also need a column to track the date of the attendance. And then finally, we need a choice column to keep a track of the attendance. So it will store the information of the youth whether that person is present or absent. So now we have created three lists: one cottages, second youth, and third attendance. Now let's go back to our Power Apps and connect to those SharePoint lists. Now, as per our requirements, first, the staff opens the app. Second, the staff selects a cottage from a drop down and hits enter. So, first, let's add a drop down. We will then connect this drop down to cottages, which will show us the list of our cottages. Now, once the staff hits enter, second screen opens up. So, first, let's add a button. Also on the second screen, it also displays the youth assigned to that cottage that we have selected in the first screen. So for that, I need to be able to capture which cottage the staff is selecting. For that, I'm going to set a variable on the onSelect property of the button, which will store the cottage name that the staff has selected in the drop down. And I am also going to add a text label here just to see what exactly is this variable getting set as. So here we'll write the variable name, and now let's test this. And finally, we'll update our formula to also include navigate to the next screen. So I'm going to write navigate screen 2, and we'll also create this screen 2. Now on the second screen, we need to display the list of youth connected to that cottage. For that, I'm adding a vertical gallery. That gallery is going to be linked to the youth list. Now here we can see the entire list, all the students that are in all the cottages, which we don't want. So here we are going to filter our list with the cottage name, which is equal to the cottage name that we have selected in the screen 1. Now here the gallery is blank because notice the where selected cottage is cottage E, and if you remember in my database I only have created data for cottage A, cottage B, and there is one record for cottage C, but nothing for cottage E. So we'll select a appropriate cottage and then navigate to the screen, and now we are able to see the entire list. Moving on to our next requirement, which is staff marks the attendance, which can be either a toggle or a checkbox. So here I'm going to add a toggle to the screen. I'm going to show you both checkbox and a toggle. First, let's work with toggle and let's submit the record. I'm going to remove this off text as we don't need it. And let's also change the color for false and true fill. So red indicates absent and green indicates present. And then finally, we need a submit button to patch our record to SharePoint. Here we are going to use patch function. So patch, then your data source name, comma, defaults, again your data source name, and then in curly braces you will mention all the columns that you're going to add data to. So the first column that we are going to patch into is cottage. Now here it's a lookup column. So for lookup columns in SharePoint, you need to specify ID as well as value for SharePoint to accept your record. This entire piece of code is needed for just the cottage column, which is a lookup column. Similarly, we are going to add the same parameters for youth. You need ID as well as value because again here this is a lookup column. Now for cottage, to keep a track of the selected cottage, we created a variable. For youth, we haven't created any such variable as of now. But if you want, there are two ways. You can either write here title is equal to gallery dot selected dot the value of the youth, or before this patch function, if you want, you can create a variable that keeps a track of the selected youth. So I'll show you how. For this, I'm going to comment this whole patch code so we can test our set variable code and then come back to this. Now again, to see exactly what this variable is setting, I'm going to add a text label so we can see the value. Now coming back to our patch formula, you can either select this where selected youth variable, or you can write gallery1.selected.title directly, whichever way you prefer. Then we also have attendance date. For attendance date, we are going to assume that we are marking the attendance for today, right? Every time staff logs in, they are marking the attendance for the new day. So we'll directly use today to capture the date. And then finally, we will use the attendance column. Now in attendance, you cannot just simply write toggle dot value because this is a boolean. The toggle dot value is a boolean data type, and in the back end, this attendance column is a choice column. So both of them are two completely different data types. What that means is SharePoint is expecting data in the form of value, and then in quotes you write present or absent, whatever value you need to patch. This is how it accepts it. But we need to send the value based on the toggle that is selected. So based on the toggle value, like let's say it's true, then we mark the student as present, or if it is false, then we mark them as absent. First, let's understand how the toggle value is captured. For that, let's add a text label. And in this text label, we'll add gallery.selected.toggle. So whenever you toggle the value in the gallery, it will show you either true or false. So in our formula, we'll write if toggle.value is true, then patch the value as present, and if the value is false, then mark it as absent. And that's it. This is our entire patch code. Now let's test this. Let's mark Sophie Miller from cottage B as present. Let's check in our backend. Perfect, this worked. Let's check for Ethan from again cottage B and mark this person as absent. Great, our formula works. Also, if you want, you can change the color of your choice because red and green makes more sense when we are talking about present and absent. Now, this worked really well with the toggle. Now, let's add checkbox to our gallery and see how it works. Here again on your submit button, if you change the attendance code to write checkbox.value, it's not going to work again because this is expecting a choice value and this is again a boolean. So we are going to use the same formula. The only change is that instead of toggle, we are going to write checkbox. Let's test this out. Now for Ava, I'm going to mark this person as present. And then Lucas, we are not going to click the checkbox and just directly submit it. That will mark this person as absent. Now that we have covered all the basic functionalities of the app, I'm going to clean the app a bit and I'll show you the final look. Here is the final look of the app. On the first screen, you have got app logo, app name, and a background image. And then you have this drop down where you can see the list of cottages. You can select it and start the attendance. If you want to go back, you can just click on this back button and come on the first screen. Then on the second screen at the top, you can see the cottage name that you have selected. I've also shown today's date, and then also you can show the number of youth assigned to this cottage. You can also see number of students that are present or absent, and then the entire list of the youth. You must have noticed there are two submit buttons here. The one on the left side will mark the attendance one after the other, but the one on the right side can submit the attendance all in one go. So if the staff prefers doing it one at a time, they can mark the attendance and then submit it. You can also see I've displayed a message which shows okay that attendance is pending, and on the right side you can also see the number is updating for present and absent. But let's say the staff wants to record all the attendance all in one go. So they will take the attendance, whoever is present or absent, and then click on the submit button on the right side. You will see the whole list gets updated. Also notice the record for Liam and Emma was already submitted, the first two students. I submitted the record for the last three students, but still it has not created any copies. For example, all these five records already exist in the backend, but let's say I mark everyone present. Now it should not add any copies, it should only have five students. I'm going to filter this list in the backend so we can see it more properly. So we are at cottage A, we can see five records, two are absent, and I'm going to submit this. Now all five are present, zero are absent. Let's see if it is correctly updated. And that's it. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time with another problem.